Hi everybody, today I wanted to shoot a video and I wanted to call it "If you want to gather honey, then don't kick over the beehive." Now, I've been reading a book at the moment which is a fabulous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and I've got some fascinating facts that have come to light that I really wanted to share with you this afternoon. And it's all relative to how to build relationships really without being critical of others. Now, dealing with people is probably the biggest problem that you face in most aspects of your life, whether it be building a business or whether it be relationships with people outside of your business, relationships with family, relationships with friends, and relationships in organisations and situations that you're involved in. And it's an amazing yet true fact that 15% of our success in relationships is down to the knowledge of what we're talking about to build that relationship, and 85% is due to how effective we are at dealing with people. And what I mean when I say that is that's down to our personality and our ability to manage people to achieve our desired outcome. So that's fascinating. So 15% is knowledge based on what we're talking about to build that relationship, and 85% is our ability to build that relationship based on our personality and our ability to manage the person that we're having the relationship with to achieve our desired outcome. Now, most of us don't realise as we go about our daily tasks that whilst we are in the process of gathering the honey, we kick over the beehive regularly. And should that surprise us? Really? No, because human beings, well, we're funny buggers really. And you know, what's the norm for one person is not the norm for another, and there are so many different personality traits that we're dealing with all different types of people. So today I wanted to give you some examples, and really to take stock and bear in mind the next time you're engaged in a conversation or you're engaged in a situation where you're building any form of relationship. Now, think about the last time that something didn't quite turn out as you expected. Did you blame and criticise somebody else for the outcome? Now just think about that for one moment. And actually there's nothing wrong if you did, because actually that's quite normal. So we're programmed as human beings to quickly lash out and quickly blame and quickly criticise others instead of taking responsibility and taking stock for where we are at this moment in time. So criticism is damaging. It's damaging to a person. And let's talk about that for a moment, because think about if you're criticised, you would naturally go on to the defensive, and your way of coming out of that defensive mode is by way of attacking in an effort to justify yourself. Criticism also wounds. It wounds people's pride. So think about how the last time you were criticised, how did it make you feel? You probably took a knock to your pride. It hurts our sense of importance, so it makes us feel sometimes quite worthless, and it causes resentments to set in, resentments between you and between the person who's criticised you. So think about that for a moment. Do you think this sounds like good building blocks for any relationship? And I spent some time really thinking about that, because of course it doesn't. And I wanted to draw on that. Now, Benjamin Franklin used to be the American ambassador to France, and he made a very, very successful statement, and he had a very noble secret to his success as to why he was such a great ambassador, and it was really very simple. And he said, "I will speak ill of no man, and speak all the good I know of everybody. Any fool can criticise, condemn and complain, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving." Now think about that. Now I'm going to end this with an example where this was experienced by a guy called Bob Hoover. Now, Bob Hoover was a famous test pilot, and he was a famous performer at air shows. And this was described in the magazine Flight Options, and I just wanted to relay this to you. Now, he was on his way flying home after an air show, and at 300 feet in the air on his way back from the show, both engines of his propeller plane stopped. Now, Hoover landed the plane successfully, and when he inspected the plane, and he inspected the fuel, the World War II propeller plane had been fuelled with jet fuel instead of gasoline. Now when he got back to the airport, he asked to see the mechanic who had serviced the plane. And the man was absolutely horrified and sick with terror when he realised that he had caused, number one, the loss of a very expensive plane, but number two, and more importantly, that he could have caused the loss of 3 lives in addition to the plane. Now Bob Hoover was absolutely furious, but how do you think he dealt with the mechanic? So just think about this for a moment, think of a similar situation that you may have been in, hopefully not as drastic, and just think for a moment how you managed that situation and how you dealt with it. Well, you know, Bob Hoover didn't criticise the mechanic, and instead he put his arm around the man's shoulder and he said to him, "To show you I'm sure that you will never do this again, I want you to service my F-51 for me tomorrow. So remember this, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive."